Welcome back to At Your Peak. Had a great week so far talking about fundamental leadership and really analyzing some of the biblical characters out there that help us to kind of see ourselves and them. And we've said that really leadership, while we understand that leadership is influence, you can lead in any environment. I mentioned a couple of days ago, my kids, they'll lead me on how to use electronics. I mean, they can run the free world on their phone. It's unbelievable. I mean, pretty soon they'll be able to wash your laundry on the phone. I mean, they're just amazing that way. So they're leading me. Of course, I lead them as their dad too. So leadership is expansive, it's interactive, it's collaborative. But there are aspects of leadership that we're really hitting on to really move the needle this week in your sphere of influence and really just wanting people to get a sense of God's perspective on what a healthy leader actually looks like. So we've talked a little bit about Nehemiah. We've mentioned how Jesus led his disciples earlier in this week. A different leader with a different spirit was a guy by the name of Caleb. And if you know anything about the Old Testament and the children of Israel, God's people, and many of you know the story of Moses and the 10 Commandments and coming out of Egypt and crossing of the Red Sea. And there's this promised land that they were given. And they're wandering in the wilderness just for year after year after year. It was about an 11-day journey, but when God delivered them out of Egypt, they had, centuries of Egyptian mindset. And so while it was an 11-day journey, and they could literally get out of Egypt within days to the promised land, it took 40 years in the wilderness to get the Egypt out of them. Their mindset, their spirit was off. They did not have the internal chutzpah that a leader needed. Only a few did. Moses had it, and two other guys had it. And that was Joshua and a guy by the name of Caleb. And where we first are introduced to Caleb is in the book of Numbers, and they're asked to spy out the promised land. They could have taken it early. They didn't have to go 40 years. But Caleb and Joshua were 2 of 12 spies that went out to survey the promised land that God was giving them, said, this is your land. And Caleb and Joshua come back with this great report, and they're like, let's do it, we can take the hill. And you have all the rest of the guys saying the giants are too big, it's too much. They still had an Egyptian mindset, slavery, bondage, bad thinking. Well, Caleb, as a testament to his patience, he endures 40 years in the wilderness. And him and Joshua are the only left of that early group outside of a number of these desert babies who have a different mindset, who grew up under the provision of God, and they're ready now. They want it. No more wilderness, no more manna. We're taking our promised land. So they're fighting for it now. It says in Numbers 14, it says, all the children of Israel. Oh, actually, I'm going to skip past that. We already mentioned that. I want to read this scripture right here. Numbers 14:24. It says, my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him and has followed me fully, I will bring him into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it. All right. So again, the desert babies go in, Caleb and Joshua go in. Here's what you need to understand. The land that God gives you, leader, to survey, the places he wants to take you, he will always provide you 2 options for 2 reports. A good one, a bad one. There's always stuff that you can partner with. There's always 2 trees in the garden, if you will. Tree of life, tree of the knowledge of good and death. There's always options. Caleb made the right option, but think about this, leader. He had to wait 45 years. 45 years. He did the right thing. I mean, it almost feels like punishment. You mean to tell me that I had to wait on all the people? I was an early adopter, a visionary. We saw it, and none of the people would come with me. That's not fair. Well, Caleb waits 45 years to inherit the mountain. But now they're going in, and he's as strong then as he was at age 40. And he has built up a lot of intestinal fortitude. He's learned a few things too, and so has Joshua. And there is preparation in proportion to that influence. Caleb's got a lot of influence with these desert babies too. He's the man. He is large and in charge. He's developed fortitude, patience, perseverance, can-do attitude. He's physically strong because he's got some giants he's about to whip. And these are big guys. And you're going to have enemies that defeat you, that will try to defeat you in and around you. And this is the environment that he's facing. He goes in there and they conquer. And he says, give me this mountain. And he took it. What's your mountain? See, the Caleb generation understands the language of the wilderness that kept them in there for 40 years was complaining and murmuring. That's what happened. They said they couldn't do it. And God said, so be it according to your word. And so they didn't do it. They sat there in the wilderness, going around that mountain 40 straight years, just walking in circles. The language of the promised land is conquering and possessing. We are able and fully equipped to take it. Give me this mountain. That was the language of Caleb. And those type of people will reflect the world they were most aware of. See, what Caleb saw wasn't the size of the giants. He was impressed by the size of his God. And he went and he took that mountain. Here's a question to ponder. Who or what influences you? The wilderness, the Egyptian mindset, the slavery, we be not able mindset, or the promised land mindset that says, I may not be where I want to go yet, but I can see it on the horizon. Maybe I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be, which was Egypt. And I'm not here. I can't stay here. I need to go there. And when I go there, when he calls me, I will get there. He will give me this mountain, and I will slay me some giants, and I will take that promised land. That's the heart of a person with a different spirit. And that, my friends, is you. We'll see you tomorrow.